Welcome back to Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Here for Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this, coming to you live to tape 25 feet below the surface of the earth for another episodic YouTube adventure for story time as we review, and I guess we can call this a book review, the legendary Toad's Place. We're in Chapter 3, Part 4 of Billy Joel, U2, and much, much more. This is what we've been reviewing and covering the last couple of days, and we'll be doing this legendary Toad's Place review, story time if you will, heading through the Christmas season. We're only a couple of days away on into the new year. We're going to do it chapter by chapter, and we're going to read this together. I purchased this a week or two ago at Barnes & Noble, and we're going to read this chapter by chapter, as I said, together. Now, if you go back to the video I just posted a little while ago, earlier today, I went down to the famed venue. It's not open yet. I was down there about, I don't know, maybe noontime, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to give you a little background and put a face to the place of the area, show you the front door, the side alleyways, the back door entrances, the street, York Street, if you will, the famed Yale campus. It's about 25 degrees out. It's cold as a witch's tit, but I went down there for you, the fans. Shout out to my moderator, Austin Nance, my brother from another mother, and of course, the OTS Tribal Queen, holding it down, keeping it real, and maintaining. Sit back and relax as we review the legendary Toad's Place. You guys know my history. I was a bouncer there, aka doorman, I guess they call it now, back in the early to mid 80s, closer to the early 80s, and then for a second stint in the early 90s. And Brian Phelps, who penned this book along with Randall Beach, Brian was one of the owners along with Mike Spernoodle. Brian was my manager, my boss, so to speak, along with Big Tank and Whiskey, the actual head of the security team as we worked together there. And Randall Beach is a legendary columnist from this area, from the New Haven Register to the Courier, so on and so forth. He's also penned many books, Randall Beach. I've done probably 5 or 6 shows, because this isn't a fucking podcast, this is a show, in regards to the legendary Toad's Place, the music industry. You guys know my background, who I've worked for, who I bodyguard, who I work personal security for, so that's another story for another time. We want to delve right into the book. Again, we are part 4 of Chapter 3. We're going to do a couple of episodes this weekend leading into Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all my fans out there. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. This is a temporary distraction, a much needed stress reliever, and I hope I provide the same for you. A little break from the IWC and the pro wrestling community as we present something different here on the channel. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. Let's get right into it. Again, drop an elbow on that like button. For crying out loud, pick up a chair and smash that like button. Share, subscribe, leave a comment. Get us in the algorithm. Let's get right into it. Grab a snack, grab a beverage. Speaking of that, you see what's going on here. Stand by, it was cold out there. So I did a couple of short videos to give you a physical space of where Toad's actually is. And if you ever get down here, you really have to check it out. And coming up in 2025, just a few weeks away, it's going to be the 50-year anniversary of Toad's Place. 50 years, 1975 to 2025. And remember all the competition Toad's has had over the years. Everything from the Great American Music Hall to the Oxford Ale House to the Agora Ballroom, the Palace, the Schubert, a stone's throw from the 11,000-seat venue of the old New Haven Arena, New Haven Coliseum, and right up 91, the 16-plus 1,000-seat venue of the Hartford Civic Center because the casinos, Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, didn't come around to the middle to late 90s here in Connecticut. So when a lot of the big bands and the top performers of the music industry and rock and roll and every other genre you could think of, they wanted to play in a smaller club in the heart of the city, a stone's throw right up the road from Broadway, and then down to the New Haven Green on the Yale campus. I'm not going to talk skull and bones, man, but you get it. So Toads, which now I believe in 2024, the capacity is about 1,000 people. Back then it was about 750. It started off with maybe, they went up to 500. It actually started that venue with a capacity of only 350 people. The floor is a hardwood floor. That's right, a hardwood floor that they shipped in originally from Massachusetts and then would change it every 2 or 3 years. So the dance floor in the big open space right in front of the stage is actually a hardwood floor. They have the game room in the back, pool tables, billiards, if you will, pinball machines. They have the Lily's Pad upstairs, which is a much more smaller, intimate venue for about 50 or 75 people with local acts performed. Now, of course, Toads, we've been reviewing it, and we're going to continue to go on. Every star and entertainer from post to post and pillar to coast and border to border has been in Toad's place for that intimate atmosphere. That's why I chose to cover this, because of the area, my connection there, all the different universities that are right there as well, from Yale University, University of New Haven, Albertus Magnus, Quinnipiac University, Southern Connecticut State University. It really was something to be there in the late 70s and through the early and middle late 80s, even into the early and middle 90s. I've probably, between nights that I've worked there and nights that I've seen shows there at that venue, easily 500 plus times throughout my life. And that's why I want to present this information. That's what you get on this channel. The unique connection, whether it be my 30 plus year career as a pro wrestling manager in the IWC and my 40-year journey, because that's what this channel is truly all about, is pro wrestling and that community. But of course, also my background in the rock and roll music industry. I've worked for many bands. You guys know that. Go back and again, check out these previous episodes. Navigate the playlist. 5,000 videos, 2,000 videos, 2,500 videos were uploaded in the last 365 days. Nobody works harder for you than I do. And I know I say that every time, and I'll continue to say it. Again, we're doing this in segments, chapter by chapter. There's about 16 chapters. So we have plenty of time. I'll bounce back and forth with this, but this is what we're concentrating on right now. It's a little silent, dead zone in pro wrestling right now. The next couple of weeks of shows are taped. AEW's in the middle of the Continental Classic leading into Wrestle Dream. WWE, SmackDown, or Raw, I believe, are taped the next couple of weeks. And then, of course, on January 6th, they go to Netflix. And right around the corner from, I believe, the Royal Rumble, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a nice break. Plus my connection. I'm repeating myself. I get it. Repeat and Pete and repeat. I have amnesia and deja vu at the same time. I think I've forgotten this before. All right, let's roll. Chapter 3. Billy Joel, U2, and much more. Part 4. In January 1980, we had another female rocker in the early stage of her career, Pat Benatar. At that time, she had already scored on the charts with Heartbreaker and Hit Me With Your Best Shot, but she still wasn't that big a star. And so for that first outing with us, she was the opening act for the Laughing Dogs, a favorite band of Jimmy Koplik's. Benatar came in for her afternoon sound check, and all was in order. It was still a few hours before the show, and we needed to get her back to her hotel, which was nearby. Remember, cut me some slack, we're reading this together live for the very first time, you and I. In those days, few bands had the luxury of traveling in a motor coach. So the tour manager asked me the best way to get to her hotel. After I found out the cab would be delayed, I said, hey, let me give you guys a ride. Now this is Brian Phelps, co-owner, talking from Toad's place. She squeezed in next to me in the front seat with her manager on the other side. Oh boy, I blurted out, trying to make a joke. I get to sit next to Pt.4. She gave me the look of death. I swallowed hard and tried to smile. After that, I kept pretty quiet. Sometimes you step in it no matter how hard you try to be cool. Pt.4 and her band put on a great show that night. She wore a very sexy outfit and sang, danced, and moved like a panther. She did return to Toads, but then went on selling out arenas all over the country. When she did an interview with People magazine, she was wearing her Toad's Place t-shirt. When we saw that, we knew Pt.4 was a true member of the Toads family. Some of the acts we brought in never became part of our family. In April 1983, I hope you have your notebooks out, fans. Take them out. This is here for a reason. So you're better when you fucking walked out of here than when you walked in. No offense, man, with the cussing. Kayfabe, man, what I say? Lighten up. Some of the acts we brought in never became part of our family, as I just said. In April 1983, we had John Lydon, earlier known as Johnny Rotten. No, not the wrestler. When he was with the notorious British punkers, the Sex Pistols. They had only lasted from 75 to 78, but had shaken up the music world with snarling ditties such as God Save the Queen, including the added line, she ain't no human being. After they broke up, their bass player, Sid Vicious, again, not the wrestler, died of a heroin overdose. Lydon formed a new band, Public Image Ltd. That was weird and unsettling night for us. Beach reported from the New Haven Journal Courier that when he arrived outside, the first thing he saw was a leather-clad youth with blood streaming down his face. Inside, there were lots of other tough guys dressed in leather, many of them with mohawk haircuts. Picture that for a scene, especially in Elm City, one of the most dangerous and notorious cities in this state and in the country per capita. Look it up. Facts don't lie. And don't go Google it. Use DuckDuckGo. When the band finally came out at 11:35 p.m., the crowd surged towards the stage. Beach wrote. A giant wad of spit sailed from among them and hit Lydon square in the face. He wiped it off, shook his head in disgust, and sneered. All right, I'm leaving. That's what he said. But he remained, lurching across the stage, spitting out the words he shrieked, wish I could die, wish I could die. The punks were pop-going. Mohawk-haired, colored dudes ricocheted off each other in tribal slam dancing. The club's bouncers sought to dissuade them. People kept spitting on Lydon and calling out insults such as, hey Johnny, nice career. Finally, he asked for the house lights to be turned on so he could see his tormentors. Oh, ugly, he shouted. He spent most of the rest of the show with his back turned toward the crowd. They responded by lifting one of the punks up and passing him over their heads until he somersaulted onto the stage. A bouncer threw him back into the crowd. And that's what we were there for. After an hour of this, Lydon stomped off stage, showered by more abuse and spit. He did one short number for an encore, then left, screaming, bye-bye, folks. I don't believe in spoiling you. This drew more obscenities from the crowd. He just smiled and took off. Despicable human beings. Another difficult act was Sinead O'Connor. She was the Irish singer-songwriter who was very outspoken on organized religion, women's rights, war, and child abuse. I had no problem with her political views, but she was pretty crude. She spat on the stage during the sound check and was barking out orders. There's a lot of spitting going on at Toad's place. I stayed away from her. I didn't want her in my face. I just wanted the show over with. to give her whatever the hell she wanted, is what he's saying here. No matter if it was in the contract or not. I wanted to get the night done so we didn't have an incident. There were plenty of nights there at the legendary Toad's place. Good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what I give you here on Chaos Corner. We had a much better time with Debbie Harry of Blondie, who had hits with Rapture and The Tide is High 'cause I'm moving on. I'm gonna be your number one. I ain't the kind of girl who just... No? Too much? Too soon? Too often? Too late? That's what you get here. It's an extravaganza, a bonanza on Chaos Corner. You never know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do. Kind of like being at Toad's place. And a few other songs as well. She played at Toad's at least 2 or 3 times. Each show was better than the last. Debbie was really friendly. She came to my office just to hang out and talk. We had another memorable show on July 21st in 1986 when the Allman Brothers Band came to town. That's right. By that time, they had broken into 2 parts. We got lucky. First, we booked the Greg Allman Band, and then we were able to add Dickie Betts Band as a separate act on the same night. The original band had broken up in 1976, 5 years after Duane Allman died in a motorcycle accident. We did a full show of music by each band on that beautiful summer night. It was sold out and everybody loved it. As a surprise bonus for the crowd, at the end of the night, the bands had a jam session together. So the audience wound up getting a full-fledged Allman Brothers show. Greg Allman loved Toads. He played here a lot. One night he was playing at the Palace Theater just a few blocks away from us, and he decided to stop in and see us. When he came in, we went straight up to the bar, slammed his fist down, and said, "I want some Jack Daniels and I want some pussy." Well, what'd I say, man? That's what the book says. What do you want me to tell you? No offense, man. I know 30-40% of my audience is female. I didn't write it. I just present it as it's presented to me. For you. That was the 80s. Austin, ODS Tribal Queen, give me some Jack Daniels and pussy. Woo, woo. Contain yourself, Chaos. There were a lot of groupies hanging around, so he had no problem with that. He could get laid anytime he wanted to. He came to my office and I gave him a Toad's jacket. He put it on right away. He hung out for a few more hours and had a few more drinks and left in his car. Unfortunately, he got pulled over by the New Haven police. Greg told the cop he had just left Toad's. The officer saw the Toad's jacket and recognized him, so he escorted Greg to his hotel. The cop later told me what happened. In 2017, Greg died of liver cancer. The world lost a great musician, and Toads lost a friend. Rest in peace, Greg Allman. Because musicians liked hanging out at our club, they would sometimes just swing by like Allman did that night. Even if they didn't want to play anything, one night after Van Halen played at the New Haven Coliseum, Eddie Van Halen came in and sat at the bar. I don't think he wanted to perform. When we booked John Entwistle of Who, Pete Townsend came in to see the show. He did a lot of drinking with Big Mike. Well, old Big Mike got wasted, but so did Townsend. So it worked out, but Townsend never got on our stage. Listen to these incredible stories, fans. Is this monumental history in the making? It really is something, and that's why I was compelled between my connection and what I wanted to present here on the channel. And that's why I went down there today in 20-something degree weather, because of how important this is to me and what I want to present to you and tie it all together and what we're going to do moving forward here with this book review. Very special book during very special times. Everybody in the club seemed to drink plenty of beer whenever the Marshall Tucker band came to play. One night we sold more than 200 cases of Budweiser alone. The stacks of empty beer cases reached the ceiling. This remarkable total tied for our all-time bar sales record with the night Dr. Dirty, John Valby, the Prince of Porn, came in. His dirty songs and X-rated jokes have always drawn a rowdy, beer-swilling crowd. I can attest to that. Been to many a Valby show. Valby has been doing a Christmas show for us for many years. More than 500 people show up every time, year after year. I guess Valby's antics got them in the Christmas spirit. In an email message sent to Toads in 2020, Valby wrote, "The Christmas shows, OMG. The energy in that crowd is inspiring." To quote Dr. Dirty, "Eat my fucks up, gobble no chew, nipple bosom hair pie, finger fuck screw, moose piss cat, putter, orangutan tank, sheep pussy cat, cat, big lion shit." What I say? It's one of his songs, man. See if you can decipher that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Southside Johnny with the Asbury Jukes was also a perennial good time crowd pleaser who helped us with our bar sales. But one night he lost his voice after only about one song and couldn't get it back. He was plenty pissed, but there was nothing anybody could do about it. The band played a few more songs and tried to keep the crowd as happy as possible. Sometimes stuff like that just happens. You can't predict it. You can't plan it. Wow. We had to provide some refunds, which made Mike mad. He had one of our staffers write Johnny a nasty letter saying we wanted our money back. That's when things were going bad with Mike, as his substance abuse was becoming an issue. When Johnny got the letter, he was furious. I had to step in and write him a letter of apology. Something's going on up in the lounge. Could it be Emily? Could it be Eli? Jumping off the Christmas tree? We also booked our bands with an eye towards sales. Sometimes we would get a band that was on the cutting edge of stardom, but we would book them on a Tuesday for the night of the Toad. This meant 25-cent beers from 8 to 11 p.m. In July 1982, we had the Stray Cats for one of those nights. The Cats, a rockabilly act led by Brian Setzer, were getting a lot of press and then definitely were on the upswing. It was a sellout show. People had a fine time drinking beers for a quarter and dancing to great rockabilly. Bud Tunick, the drummer for the Sims Brothers band, who played many shows for us, was at the time doing bookings for Toads. He remembers hearing Mike on the phone in our office saying, "Who the hell are the Stray Cats?" Mike gave me the phone, Bud said. He had seen them on the TV show Fridays and was blown away. Thanks to Bud, we got them for only $750. After the encore, Setzer said to the crowd, "That's all we've got." We also were able to bring in the Red Hot Chili Peppers in November 1985, just 1 year after they released their first album. Now, this was a group that would go on to become one of the best-selling bands of all time. They performed during halftime at the Super Bowl in 2014. But timing is everything, and we got them early when we could afford them. They did an encore for us in October of 1987. Again, I hope your notebooks are out. They were always energetic and put on a great show. When they came back on the stage for their encores, they were truly and totally naked, except for a sock covering their genitals. I want you to picture that. The Red Hot Chili Peppers came out to Toads naked except for a sock on the Johnson. Talk about your dinghies. This is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. This was the times. Now, I'm not condoning any of it. I was a part of it, but it is what it is, man. That's why we present it to you here. This show is a reality. It's not just views, thoughts, and opinions. It's facts. It's history. A sock. And then there were the rising acts that we didn't get. Even when we had a chance, we almost had Madonna before she hit it big. But she wanted $3,500 for a Saturday dance party. Big down there, the Saturday night dance parties. And we were doing huge money those nights. She was going to do only 4 or 5 songs, bring 3 dancers with her, no band, just pre-recorded music. She had just 1 song out then and hardly anybody heard of her. Mike and Jimmy Koplick and I were on the phone with her agent. We offered $2,500 to have her come in, but they wouldn't agree to that price. She said no, so the show didn't come off. Not long afterward, when she had become a superstar with Like a Virgin. Woo! No, I'm not going to go down that road. One of our crew members got a job working with her and mentioned he had worked at Toad's. She got out a brochure and wrote on it, "Sorry you passed me up." We couldn't have her, and we blew it. That would have been a huge feather in our cap. You're always haunted by the ones that got away. We never got the Grateful Dead either. No Jerry Garcia at Toads, but several times we brought in Bob Weir, a founding member of the Dead and their rhythm guitarist and vocalist. He toured with his band Bobby and the Midnights. You can bet those shows sold out, sometimes with back-to-back performances on the same night. The drummer for the Midnights was Billy Cobham, also a legend in the music world. He had played with Miles Davis. Cobham was built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. His arms were immense. The crew had to bring in a lot of extra drumsticks because he broke so many during a show. All the drummers in the crowd were awestruck. We landed Santana for 2 shows on July 21st, 1987. This was 18 years after their breakthrough performance at Woodstock, highlighted by Soul Sacrifice. Both of our shows sold out as soon as the tickets went on sale. The tour was playing in much larger venues, so it was a coup that we got these guys. They played 18 songs for the first show, encoring with By the Pool, Europa, and Right Now. There were 15 songs in the second show, including Samba Pati, a slow dance favorite showcasing a mood-setting solo by Carlos Santana as the encore. They did their big hits, You're a Black Magic Woman, Gypsy Queen, Oye Como Va, Tenine Hermosa Sa, Que la No Me Joda Acá, Bendejo Carbron. No offense, man. What I say, de nada. It's Santana, man. And also, you got to change your evil ways, baby. No? Listen, it's a music book, a music industry. It's Toad's place. I gotta sing, man. My karaoke's getting better, I think. Leave a comment. What do you think, Austin? What do you think, OTS Tribal Queen? The chains are getting heavy here at Chaos Corner. Santana for 2 nights. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. That's why I'm covering this book. And my connection, wearing Toad's colors today. You see that, right? They played those songs in both sets. The crowd was entranced. The only problem with that night was their suspicious bean-counting door manager. No offense, man. He kept double-checking the ticket counts. Finally, we had to grab the box with the collected tickets at the front door and count them in front of him. He wanted to make sure they were getting every nickel that was coming to them. Stand by, fans. Don't go anywhere. We're about a half an hour in on part 4, the legendary Toad's Place. So I'm going to say that to say this. Story from New Haven's famed music venue. Don't go anywhere. Come on back. We're jumping right back into Toad's Place. So let's dance. Don't you dare miss it.